Stream health. So this is a test. Viewers may be experiencing minor issues. Of course, there are no viewers, so they're not experiencing any issues. But we'll see how this goes. Leave it on for a bit and see if anyone comes along and test this out. Oh, there we go. Mr. Working Class AG, Evening Sal. Hope this is not a butt dial. No. This is intentional. Turn up volume. All right. Remember, this is just a test. There's no... Try that. How's that sound? There's no agenda here tonight. Just testing out the live stream, Gary. How's that sound? Mr. Working Class AG. All right. Let's see something. Testing 1, 2, 3. How's that? Testing 1, 2, 3. 6 people watching. There's not much to see here, but maybe if you get a question in, you can see how this thing works. Loud and clear. Good evening, Keystone Stacker. Hey, Joe. It's good to see you here. Good volume. Silver Fortune. Try clicking the camera icon on high. Yeah, I don't have the camera working, Matt. I'm going to have to get that. I have a stack, so there's no camera. So you got that background that doesn't look very good. Am I doing video? Joe, I'm going to try to do a live stream from time to time if people like it and want to ask questions rather than just have interviews and regular YouTubes. I've been on a few. I've been on Silver Fortunes. Kennedy Financial does the live streams. Salivate Metal does live streams. So I thought I'd give it a try. If the Smaulgld subscribers want to check it out, I'm more than happy to do it. My equipment isn't very good. I still got the squeaky chair. Now, what do you want me to do? Try clicking the camera icon on Hangouts to change. Oh, I see. All right, let me go to Hangouts. Where's that, Matt? On the right. You want to see that Smaulgld logo. You just don't want to see that. You hear the squeaky chair, though. That's the same. All right, well, I guess this works. I'm going to sign off. Unless anyone has any questions, I'll try this again at some point in the future, but I'm probably going to cut this short unless anyone has a question in the right. I'm going to try to figure out how to do this a bit better. I do need a new headset. Will I live stream if financial collapse? Well, if there is a financial collapse, Joe, I will certainly report on it. I'm not going to predict about it. Imminent collapse. Oh, by the way, Mr. Silver Fortune and the rest of you, I saw today something very interesting. Maybe get your comments on. It was in Sharps Pixley. Let me see if I can pull it up right now. Sharps Pixley said that they are going to stop or drastically cut back on their silver coverage. And the rationale for that was that they had limited interest in silver, and also they were not making any money. There wasn't a lot of good silver stories that they were able to talk about. And they also mentioned in the UK, because that's where Sharps Pixley is, they have a 20% VAT. And I know that does crimp sales. Friends in England have told me that when it comes down to buying, that 20% VAT really hurts them, because that's basically what they look to make. Try to make 20% gains, and it gets eaten up in VAT. Let me read you the story here. It says, Sharps Pixley reduces silver coverage. They regret to advise us they'll be significantly reducing their coverage of silver markets starting Friday. And they're not going to have a specific silver page with the news. They're not going to have the real-time prices, the charts, all that stuff. Then they say they'll continue to post the occasional silver story and a reduced set of prices. So it's almost like half coverage or less than half coverage when warranted. So please come back. Doesn't sound very inviting. They might have something on silver for you. And then it says a combination of diminishing pool of quality silver news stories. Then they say they're having trouble getting sponsors for the silver section of their website to defray the costs, and they're saying they're working harder and harder and not making any money. And then they say, of course, unlike gold, silver has a VAT of 20%, and it renders it, quote, unappealing to a large number of potential investors, something silver producers might like to think about. Now, I don't know what he wants the silver producers. I guess he wants them to lobby or do something about this, but that's Sharps Pixley. So, very strange. Jeffrey Gotts, what about the delay in the IG report? Well, Trump believes that they're watering it down, and there was a leak today on, I think it was NBC, sources say, that the IG report chastises Comey for being insubordinate, and in a way, he was clearly, I don't know if it was overstepping his bounds, but when he said, we're not going to prosecute Hillary Clinton, that is clearly not the FBI's role. That is an attorney general role to decide. The FBI is supposed to do the investigation, present the information to the attorney general, and the attorney general is supposed to decide whether to prosecute. But as you know, the attorney general, according to Comey, he felt she was conflicted because she had met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac. And also, she said she wasn't going to recuse herself, and then she actually gave him the permission implicitly. She said, I'll do whatever he says to do. So that's why he went ahead and said, don't prosecute her. So it's a bit disingenuous to say that he took that power when she basically gave it to him by not recusing herself and coming up with that clever little solution saying, I'll do whatever he tells me to do. But then, of course, she was calling the shots when she told him that... don't call it a criminal investigation, call it a matter. So who knows what's going on there, Jeffrey. I think we're going to get it out this week, and it's not going to look good because obviously there were things that were done incorrectly, not by the book, despite what they tried to say after the fact. I think the real not by the book stuff, well, both. I think that in the Clinton investigation, they gave people immunity that they shouldn't have. They didn't get things back. One of the big mistakes that they made, a glaring, obvious error, was they never stormed the DNC to get that server. They just took the word of a third party that it had been hacked by Russians, and they just assumed that. They also did not videotape Hillary Clinton. Comey didn't even attend her meeting, and they really weren't very good notes on that either. So that investigation appears to have been not done by the book, and that's what the Inspector General is to do, is to go through the procedures of how the FBI operated. And I think the report will be damning. Now remember, the Inspector General reported McCabe did have a criminal referral. Today he said that he was not going to go to Congress unless he gets immunity. Now apparently he can spill the beans. All of them can. They all know stuff about each other and what happened, and it's just going to be interesting to see who rats on who and what happens in this whole thing. Silver hype stories are all played out until the next legit move up. Yeah, I mean, they keep coming up with stories, but the price, Matt and I in Silver Fortune, we were talking last night, and I did a video on it the night before, that the silver price is basically stagnant, and you have no volatility in silver, and not much in gold either. And I think that reflects on the U.S. Mint gold and silver sales. People like to buy it when it's going up, or they like to buy it when it's going down. They just don't like to buy it when it's sitting still. However, the gold sales in May, and also in early June seem to be picking up a bit. It's not the silver sales, not yet. So we'll see where sentiment goes. Still her decision, even if he... Yes, that's true out of phase. It was her decision. She said to him, I'll do what you say. But basically, she should have recused herself, and then Comey would have presented his information to the acting attorney general. The other thing he did, which apparently was a big mistake, was he went on TV and he said, no one knows what I'm going to say now. So basically, he didn't clear this press conference he had, I think it was on July 5th, with the Department of Justice. And that's a huge no-no. I mean, at least if he had planned, they had worked out this arrangement where he was going to make a recommendation and Loretta Lynch was going to follow it, that's still not by the book. But the fact that apparently he didn't tell her and just went on TV and started yakking, that's probably also going to land him in hot water as well. And also, Rosenstein, remember, everybody thinks that Trump fired Trump fired Comey just because he was investigating him on Russia. And he did say that to on TV to Lester Holt. But he also fired Comey on the basis of what Rod Rosenstein said, that basically he had broken protocol. And Rosenstein wrote a memo advising that Comey be fired. And he also said Comey should be fired because if he wasn't, the FBI could never recover. So it's interesting that the Rod Rosenstein recommended that Comey be fired. He's a material witness in all this investigation with Russia, and he hasn't recused himself, and yet his boss, Jeff Sessions, has recused himself. And technically, well, not technically, but technically, Rosenstein appointed Mueller on Comey's request after he got fired because Rosenstein told Trump to fire him. But meanwhile, he then acts on Comey's insistence after Comey leaks his memos for the explicit purpose of getting a special counsel. Rosenstein appoints a special counsel, so Mueller works for Rosenstein. The whole thing is very incestuous, and we're not even going to talk about Strzok and Page and the rest of them. So it will be interesting to see. I am sure a adequate inspector general can, with the amount of time that he's had, can present this in far clearer the way than I just did, but doesn't take much of a genius to figure out what mistakes were made. And the real question is, will anybody care? But I think if you're counting on the FBI to, quote, do things by the book, they're law enforcement, then you would expect that they do things properly. And if they don't do things properly, maybe they don't get criminal referrals, but they should lose their jobs. I mean, these aren't people that are junior people. They didn't know what they were doing. They were fresh out of law school. Oh, I put the paper over here. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to do that. No, this was something that they clearly did because they felt like doing it. Crooked Comey. Yeah, what does Trump call Comey? What's his pet nickname for him, Joe? I don't know. I don't think, does he have one? I know he has some Lion Bill and who knows. Gary, Bitcoin Ben video boom today, says next week or too many arrests. You know, it could be, and I would think that would dramatically impact Mueller. If Mueller is basing his investigation on the actions, basically, because the people that did the Clinton investigation, if they are brought down a peg, chastised, or criminally referred in the IG report, they're the same people who probably also broke protocol as part of the Russian investigation. So if that's the case, then Mueller is acting basically at the direction or at the behest or on the basis of the actions that those people took, which would severely undermine his authority. I mean, why would you want to be appointed as special counsel by all the people who are criminally referred, or at a minimum had done things not by the book? And actually, his appointment wasn't properly granted the authority, because normally a special counsel is someone who is supposed to go after a specific set of crimes and circumstances. This was what they call a counterintelligence probe. And a counterintelligence probe doesn't have a target. It doesn't have criminal suspects to go after. It's an investigation, which makes it very broad, and that's not what a special counsel is supposed to do. He's supposed to go after a specific type of a specific crime. So they made it very broad, and it's interesting, if it is supposed to be a broad investigation into Russian collusion, or Russian interference in the election, well, you would think they would have pulled together witnesses from the Sanders campaign, from the Jill Stein campaign, from the Hillary Clinton campaign, from all the not just Trump. So it clearly was based on trying to find if Trump did something wrong, and I think that's the mistake they made. And if they had actually gone after or pretended to go after the other three, and then try to say, look, it seems like it was Trump, but that's not what they did. They started the whole special counsel on the basis that they were going to investigate Russian collusion, but Russian collusion with Trump in it. Out of phase, right. He recommended the firing, then used the firing as a reason for Mueller. I think it's close to pitchforks and torture, so there's no major indictments. I thought it was close to torches and pitchforks when Comey came out, read the list of things that Hillary Clinton had done according to his investigation. And then he said, well, but, never mind. She didn't mean it. There was no intent and no reasonable prosecutor would bring this case. And as a former attorney, I thought, nonsense. That's exactly the kind of case you want to bring, is when you have those facts and circumstances, and when you don't have intent in the statute, and you're dealing with national security, and you're dealing with somebody who's at the highest level, and she's Secretary of State, and she has no reason not to know that what she was doing was wrong. And also, what's not mentioned in all of this is the Clinton Foundation. There was apparently an investigation into that. That went nowhere. And I don't know if we'll get that in the Inspector General's report, what the basis of really not following up on that was. Officially, it's Slippery Comey because the Crooked moniker is already assigned. Yes, the Crooked. Yes, it's already assigned to Hillary. So, have you been following the events in and around Tucson, Arizona? Spook Coos, what is happening in Tucson, Arizona? So, unfortunately, I really should be paying more attention to all the twists and turns. Well, that's what they see. You are a very informed person on a lot of things, and they count on even informed people not paying too much attention. And they're counting on the fact that people say, well, the FBI looked into this and there's no big deal. That's what a lot of people say about the FBI. A lot of people who are politically motivated, Democrats, they become supporters of the FBI. They say, oh, it was just a bunch of email, and the Republicans don't want to stop complaining about this email. The FBI looked at it. They cleared her. Don't you trust our intelligence agencies? And the answer in many cases should be no, given that we've seen that they have not necessarily been following protocol. No, I haven't seen the last I had heard on any of that stuff at Tucson. I don't follow it that close, but there was something about, there was a congressman or something, and there was a hotel, and there was a plane crash. I think that's what I know. The tangentially is all I know about. I think that's Tucson. It's true what they say, justice is just us, the little guy, the major league criminals always escape. Well, that's true, especially in this, and in a way, it's not a bad law. The law about if you mishandle or classified information, because the theory there is if you screw up with that, even by mistake or you didn't mean it, you can cause national security issues. You can cause people to die, assets to be killed, or even worse, you can send the wrong signal to a foreign adversary. They can do something. They can launch missiles. So that's why it's it's not strict liability, but there's no real intent there. If you're just reckless, careless, he said it was careless, so they changed the term to make it not fit the statute, but it's the same thing, that she was grossly negligent is the term, legal term, and then they say she was just extremely careless, to make it like she didn't meet the standard of the statute, and then they wrote into it without writing, but read into it that she didn't intend to do any harm, poor her. But for people, like you say, just us, there are cases where you have a lowly enlisted men or seamen, and they just take a picture of something, and maybe they didn't realize, they wanted to send it to their mom, and they didn't realize that there's something on the ship that is highly classified, it's secret, and they'll go to jail for that. And Hillary Clinton is running an operation for years with a private server, which she said the Secret Service were guarding. I mean, that, like, they weren't going to come and take the server. They can hack that from hundreds and hundreds of miles away. Found a sex camp with restrained children, coys, union cons. Some of the reluctant investigative vets group forcing the issue. Yeah, those issues I don't follow very closely. Obviously, if they can catch people, that's a great. There does seem to be, and it is clear that there is a cover up in a lot of this stuff, and it started with just the general harassment with people like Harvey, whatever his name is, and now they're speaking up about that, and that may be a diversion because I don't want to speak up about even worse things, but it is interesting that the Me Too movement has hit more, if you want to say, left-leaning people than right-leaning people. So it's a case of, I guess, eating their own. All right. Well, I only wanted to test this. I didn't mean to go. I don't mind it, but I didn't. Unless there's any more questions, I am going to sign off. Thanks everyone for showing up. I'll give it a second to see if there's any questions. But if you like this, just I'll do it from time to time. So thank you very much. You gotta stop streaming.